In October, I started just, I got to the point where I was constantly feeling sick, and I was losing weight, and it was like a whole, felt like a whole month of me just not feeling good, feeling like I was getting a lot of stomach viruses. And then it would be like one day I would be fine and I would feel healthy, and then I just would feel awful. Well, in October, I got to the point where I couldn't keep anything down, and it was like I couldn't even keep water down. It was so bad. So it was about a week of that. And I just remember feeling like I was dying because I knew something wasn't right. And so it got to the point I had to go to the hospital. And it turns out I was going in to diabetic coma. That's what I'm going to call it, but there's a term for it. My sugar was over 700, and I spent 4 days in the hospital, and the first 2 nights were the most rough. I was shaking, and so it was rough. And they told me if I would have waited any later, there's a chance that I wouldn't have made it. So God was looking out for me, because I believe I was coming close had I not went to the hospital. I remember having these dreams of like just crazy dreams. And I also just remember thinking, like, what if I had died? And knowing that you can go at any time and you're never promised tomorrow. And God brings us into this world, and God wants us back. So it definitely kind of left a lot of thoughts in my head when you come that close to dying. Like, one is water some stuff that, I would like to do, because I come close to just being not here. And I think I had accepted that had I have died, I had made peace with dying. So it wasn't at the time being afraid of dying, it was more of the people I was leaving behind and things I hadn't got to do. It's just, it's also been hard because, like, anytime I get a stomach virus now, and I remember that, I have a hard time with just a regular stomach virus now because I remember how sick I got and thinking at first that it was a stomach virus. But it wasn't just an ordinary stomach bug. It was because I was going in to diabetic coma. And I remember that I was very grateful for the doctors and the nurses and just how awesome they all were. And so I am very thankful that I'm still here and that God still has a purpose for me. Because knowing when you come that close to not being here, it gets you thinking. That, like, any day you realize can be your last moments. But I've also tried to, learn how to not be so freaked out when, like, I get a regular stomach bug. I've learned to, it's okay. Like, don't panic just because you get sick. That doesn't mean that that's happening again. Because sometimes that's where my head would go when I would get a stomach virus after that happened. Which I know it's probably going to be a while before that doesn't bother me, because obviously I remember that happening. And so when I get a stomach virus, I go back to, well, is it happening again? And I have to stop myself. But really, now thinking about it, like I said, I think it was a couple of months of me not feeling right and feeling like something was wrong before it actually got so bad. I think now, looking back, there were signs. One, like I said, I was losing weight. Not normally either. It wasn't like a little bit of weight. It was a lot in just a couple of weeks, or it was just a lot. And like I said, I was getting nauseous all the time. Like, I couldn't hardly keep anything down. So when I look back now, I realize there were signs that something wasn't right. So now I think if it happened again, I could look at those signs and be like, well, this is what happened last time. And I remember having really bad muscle pains. Like, it was really bad in my legs. Which, after that happened, I still have really bad muscle pain, which wasn't that bad until after all that happened. So I do think it, basically, when that happened to me, they said it attacked my muscles. So it kind of makes sense to why I have a lot of muscle pain now. More, like I said, it's in my legs where I feel it the most, and my neck. Another strange thing that happened is before I got really sick, I passed out, and I was fine, so I didn't think nothing about it. But that was probably because my potassium was going really low. So, like I said, I look back now, and there were a lot of signs that I wish now that I really would have looked for to stop it before it actually happened. Like, one was the always being nauseous, never really being able to eat much without getting sick, and then the losing weight, the passing out, stuff like that. I wish I would have caught on to it a little bit sooner. But, like I said, I'm very grateful to be here. And I know that God has bigger plans for me. But I will tell anybody watching this video that has diabetes and that don't take it seriously, it can be dangerous. It can be really dangerous, especially when you don't keep up with your blood sugars and you think you're invisible, and you're not. When you have diabetes, it will catch up with you, especially if you don't take care of it. So don't be like me. Make sure, just take care of yourself. And just, the best thing is to know the signs. Because, like I said, I wish I would have looked back and realized that something was off. Because once I got to the point where it was like I had a virus and I was constantly getting sick, that is when it got really bad. Because that was a week. Like I said, I couldn't even drink water. I couldn't drink anything. Or if I tried to even have like Jello. So, like I said, just remember, diabetes it can be dangerous if it's not under control.